talk a little bit about my field. So my team, we do enterprise data warehouse migration and greenfield builds. So when we look at an architecture such as this, like an end-to-end BI solution, so we look at all the different parts that comprise of a BI solution 360. So it's not just a case of look at reports and analytics. If you look at this particular diagram, it's a common use case for very large scale enterprise data warehouses that we either migrate or build. You have all these different parts, the ingestion coming from multiple different sources. There's analytics here on this diagram being delivered by Looker. Then you can see Salesforce here delivering Marketing Cloud for marketing intelligence. And there's data science. You can have long-term insights and intelligence that could be then exported into, for a particular instance, a third-party systems where you're trying to identify opportunities and target, either marketing platforms or whatever it is. So when we look at all these different things, what tends to happen is that we have teams working in silos. So this particular challenge we came across, which was very obvious to us with our client Pets at Home, where we did cover all of those aspects. Believe it or not, they had a very large scale data warehouse build where they had an operational system migration, marketing cloud migration, going into third-party systems for postal marketing and so on and so forth. And they had both batch and streaming ingestion. So there's all these teams, as you can see, can very easily slip into a situation of working in all these parts and not necessarily having a harmonized collaboration. Some of the ones they come to us for large scale enterprise build or enterprise migration for a data warehouse or an end-to-end BI solution is that they don't have a ELT, like an end-to-end framework, an orchestration framework that's enterprise grade. Quite often they're having to rely on either relying on third-party tools with no clear way of productionizing the solution. Quite often engineers have to write very complex code for pipeline orchestration, that particular diagram that we showed you. And then we go client to client, then we don't have a reusable element to this. And then we get third-party client solutions that I just talked about. A particular example is dbt, since they are very, very popular right now with a lot of clients we're working with. This not easy way of productionizing means you're quite often having to rely on third-party cloud, and that may not sit in harmony with an organization's enterprise or security architecture. And from a segue there would be that you can that then comes into data governance issues, that if you have kind of all these silo buildings and all these kind of analysts kind of building their own dbt pipeline or whatever it is, then you come across the issue of data governance. That could be anywhere from code quality to data quality to more serious topics such as data governance when it comes to GDPR compliance or any other legal compliance such as PI handling and so on. And all of those things combined, what you can see is that increased time for those complex coding or third-party tools, paying extra licensing costs, all of that translates to costs, both building pipeline, i.e. data in transit, and data at rest. Because if you got data in silo in many different places, you have no control of how much data is sitting where, and that can have serious cost implications. That's where our vision of DOP comes in.
So what we've done with DOP is that come up with a simplified orchestration across many of these connected components using a very simple configuration-based framework without the need to write a lot of complex coding. So exactly what we're talking about, massively simplify the process and come up with a simple way of connecting all the various different components that make a good orchestration, and then make the orchestration easier to manage and more accessible to a wider group of people. So a simple framework that's easy to write, easy to maintain, and easier to access and easier to manage amongst a very wide group of people on all those connected groups that we were talking about.
DOP at its heart is just an abstraction layer which sits on top of Apache Airflow. So Airflow is one of, if not the most commonly used orchestration and scheduling tool out there. It obviously underpins Google Cloud's Composer. So it's very much a solution which is geared to running on top of GCP. I mean, most of your clients will probably already use Airflow or Composer. in some capacity, and all of the previous pain points that Ash has just talked about will be true for them too. So DOP contains two different aspects to it. So it contains a Dockerized local development environment. So basically, DOP will run on top of Airflow with inside a Docker container on your local laptop to enable you to do easy and straightforward local development. And this can be deployed within a single click. And it also contains a cloud-based environment too. So with a single click again, you can deploy this out either to a non-live or a live production environment. And again, it will just then run on top of Airflow inside Cloud Composer, inside your client's GCP environment. And it will connect directly to BigQuery and basically orchestrate all of your BigQuery jobs. And in the future, this will expand out to many other GCP services as well. So furthering on how it works, it's basically all based around a single configuration file. So the principle of DOP is that it makes things simpler, it makes orchestration easier, abstracts away all of the complexity in the engineering work underneath the core processes. So basically everything should be deployable via configuration. So the complicated pipeline at the bottom here is a exact screenshot from Airflow. And it basically highlights, I mean, this is actually quite a simplified version compared to what you'll see in clients, but each box in the diagram there is a different task that is running. It could be running a SQL query, it could be running a stored procedure, it could be running a DBT job, it could be running a data quality check, various types of things. All of these tasks will need to run in sequence, will have various dependencies, branching points. But the point of DOP is that all of this complexity is actually created based on the configuration file. So DOP actually reads the configuration file and dynamically generates the Airflow tasks and DAGs that will be needed to go and run your tasks in production. So what it means is whenever an analyst or an engineer has a new job or a new set of code that they need to productionize, all they need to do is focus on getting the code or the pipeline or the workload right. We've open sourced it so anyone can contribute to this or fork it or use it or amend it in any way they want. And feel free to go and check it out.